Welcome to Paradise Lost, the movie. If you're making a movie, who would you cast as Adam and Eve? Or Satan?
Ethan Hawke.
As?
Adam.
Oh, I'd have gone Satan for Ethan Hawke.
He's a nice dog.
But he can be... Yeah, okay. Eve?
Julie Delphi.
What did you say, Beth? Did you say the same name? I don't know who either of those people are.
I'm not good with actors' names.
I have to look up everybody.
I think Eve has an name like a really old woman.
Who walks around naked all
Harry
the time?
Gunston, everybody.
Harry, he walks around naked all the time.
Yeah, I think that's something about Harry. Oh,
Who walks around naked all the time?
Eve. And Harry wants to be
yeah,
all
exactly.
naked.
I'm just objectively reading the text and saying it should be an old woman.
Yeah, and let's not be ageist.
So you imagine it as not.
Maybe we should start this recording again.
Well, how about she's young, and then both stops there and she's old. Come back to shoot in 30 years. What?
No,
in
then
fact,
aren't you basically
Ethan
saying
Hawke
that
did that
all
with
people
Boyhood.
are?
That was filmed over, that was 10 years ago.
Anyway, we'll start with this quotation from C.S. Lewis. Through giving Adam the fruit, Eve commits murder. Ooh, what do we think?
Like, is he saying that in context like the actual Bible or in context of
Well, I think it's a bit of both, but it's in response to Paradise Lost.
I feel like she commits like a double sin in a way. I don't know why.
So it's a double sin. The first sin of disobedience and then the sin of murder.
Herself, but she's taken other people down with her.
Yeah. Going down. Yeah, good. I mean, do we agree? Do we disagree? Is it murder? Who's she murdering?
Extreme.
It is a bit extreme, isn't it?
Maybe it means like moral murder.
Moral murder.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Channel 5 programme. Come on then, give me a little bit more.
Isn't she really causing the like downfall of humanity? She's calling the murder of like what would be all of us, because otherwise we would all be immortal.
Right, so because mortality is introduced to the world, that's what she's murdered our immortality, right?
I was going to say it's the murder of like her traditional relationships, so it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's still death.
Right. So even if she does murder something, is that necessarily bad? I mean, does she murder Adam? No, Alex?
She doesn't force him to eat the fruit. She doesn't
Right.
force it down his throat. It can't be murder if he chooses.
Okay.
You still have the choice to go, okay, I'm just going to leave you to fall on your own.
So we looked at the Genesis. She offered him the fruit, he ate it. And we haven't got there yet, but she's going to offer him the fruit. And it's not as straightforward, but he's still going to eat it of his own volition. Harry?
I think it's more like the birth of freedom rather than a kind of negative thing that C.S. Lewis seems to be.
So,
Listen, C.S. Lewis, I would disagree with him anyway.
right. C.S. Lewis, by the way, comes from...
Sorry.
Go on.
I didn't mean to try and jump in there. I was going to say the fact that he is like a devout Christian would also inform the fact that he thinks he commits murder.
Yeah, he is a devout and devoted Christian. So he's going to have potentially quite a biased view. Someone in my other class as well said that this supports Milton's misogyny, but takes it to a bit more of an extreme, really. So, okay, so just something, quite an easy bit of AO5 to remember though, isn't it? That's, you don't need to have whole big tranches of AO5, that are really complex. This is quite a straightforward one. Excuse me for fidgeting on my seat, but I've got a really, really bad sciatica. Oh, that's no good. Let's move me over there. Right. So, the reason that I've given you the handouts with a big bit of space underneath is so that as we go through each section, you can then kind of paraphrase it underneath. Because what we're going to see in this section are the arguments that Satan is going to use to persuade Eve to eat the apple. And they are many and various, and they are from the sublime to the ridiculous, but they do work. And Milton starts this by likening Satan to an orator from classical antiquity, from Athens or Rome, but with the singular difference that the orator Satan will abuse his power of free speech through deception, through lies. Let's just remind ourselves here that he has not eaten the apple, because he's going to keep saying, I ate the apple and I'm fine, but he hasn't, right? And it's quite easy to forget that, because I think he probably does just as good a number on the reader as he does on Eve. So this is the first bit here, if you want to make some notes, that our orators of classical antiquity were trained in the arts of rhetoric, and actually so would Milton have been. Shakespeare was. This was, a taught part of the syllabus, in the same way that you would have learned Latin and maths. You would have learned rhetoric, so that you could be an effective orator and speaker. But Satan's gonna not play fair. Okay. So how does he... Oh, she's so professional. She doesn't mess it up at all. Where have I gone? Where have I gone? It's still recording. It's still recording. I'm still there. All right. Meant to do that. Just tricking you. Just seeing if you're paying attention. I'm going to leave it like this because I don't know. I don't want to mess it up again. And he starts by addressing her Queen of this universe, which is how you will all address me from now on. Because I am Queen of this universe. Am I not? What's the effect of addressing her like that at the start then?
It's quite hyperbolic for an opening.
It's flattery, isn't it? Do not believe those rigid threats of death. Ye shall not die. How should you? By the fruit. It gives you life to knowledge. It's like, you're really going to die by eating this apple? By the threatener. Who's the threatener? God. He's brave, isn't he, calling God the threatener? Look on me. Me who have touched and tasted, yet both live, and life more perfect have attained than fate meant me, by venturing higher than my lot. So I want you to kind of paraphrase that. I want you to write, Satan opens his argument by, what does he do? What are his first techniques? And if you're watching this at home, maybe you could have a go too as part of your ongoing revision.
It's like Dora.
Dora? Dora
You
His?
know when she like used to break it, it's like, what's the stash? We already broke that.
Dora the Explorer?
And yeah, you...
Where are we going? Garden of Eden? Satan, no swiping. I mean, let's be honest, if Tim ever wants to get rid of me, he just has to watch these videos, doesn't he? It's like... Right, okay, so have we done that? Is that paraphrased? I mean, I'm going to risk it.
I think you're still there, I just don't think I can see.
Well, you can still hear me, and maybe that's better that you can't see me. Okay. So how does he move his argument on? Shall that be shut to man, which to the beast is open? Right, so we're going to break this one down. Katie, any thoughts? What's the first thing he says there? Shall that be shut to man, which to the beast is open? Shall I come back to you?
Yeah.
Anyone want to help Katie out? Sam?
It's like, how can God create man in his image and yet leave so much knowledge out of man's mind, but allow beasts to have it, allow the snake to have it?
Yes, yeah, I'm glad you said that bit
Yeah.
at the end. It's exactly that. Surely, if I've been able to have it, a beast, you can. Ellie?
I find it quite interesting, like, beast, it's not just like an animal species, it's kind of like exposing himself in a way, like, I feel like beast has a lot more, like, gravity to it, so you're kind of, like, leaning on the air that there isn't something quite right with it.
Yeah, it's a bit. I don't know if that's like a more modern understanding of the word beast.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't matter because we still are allowed our own interpretation as modern readers. Or will God incense his ire for such a petty trespass? What's he saying there? What does ire mean?
Like will God get like really angry at such a small issue?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you really think God is going to be that bothered that you've done such a little thing? It's not a little thing, is it? It's the only and the one thing he's asked them not to do. There's no other rules except this one. Don't eat fruit from that tree. So he's going to be one of my first years. He's going to be pretty angry. But look how he diminishes it, a petty trespass. So look at the next clause. God's not going to be angry. In fact, Satan suggests that he will be... Emily? Yeah. And not praise, rather your dauntless virtue. Do you not think he'll actually be really chuffed that you even did this?
The way to make tricky to me if he's kind of painted out as if the whole idea of God making the tree forbidden was some kind of secret test. And he's
Yeah.
kind of in on it.
Yeah. Well done, you passed the test. You actually did the one thing I didn't want you to do, but that was the one thing I wanted you to do in the first place. Well done, you have dauntless virtue. What does he say at the end? This is something we've looked at before. Daisy? Of good, how just. That bit. Anybody? Who have not heard from today? Sophie? What's it easier to do if you know the difference between good and evil? What's that word shunned mean? That is right. It's not quite what's being said here, but that is right. Alex?
If you know good and evil, then it's easier to be able to mistake and just ignore and not be tempted by evil.
Yeah, so you might achieve knowledge of good and evil. If what is evil be real, why not known, since easier shunned? So, if evil does exist, let's find out what it is by eating this fruit. Then we can shun it, we can repel it. Beth, did you want to say something then?
I was just going to say that thing.
Harry?
He also pretends to be innocent, or he plays devil's advocate. Sorry, yeah.
He plays devil's devil.
Thank you very much.
He's here all week.
Through whatever thing death be, because obviously he has the knowledge, and therefore he would know what the death thing be, but he tries to relate to Eve through a kind of innocence.
Yeah, it's also just so, I love that line. It's like, whatever death is, because they don't know. Nothing's died in the Garden of Eden. So you're just like, whatever death is, doesn't matter. Right, so let's write that next bit up underneath. If you're watching this at home, I don't know if you can see me or not, but believe me, you're not missing anything. What?
You're not missing anything anyway. Straight
Harry, it's my mantra. It's not all about you. I just happen to. If you move seats, if you go and sit where Sophie is, then I'm not in your line.
I'm sorry. Can we just say now that I'm the biggest narcissist ever, and then we get it out of the way, and then everything else is just a given?
We have been. You keep bringing us back to it.
I'm sorry. I'm just proving the pipeline. I really want to. Yeah.
Just like Satan, banging on about things all the time. Would he have convinced you so far?
Well, I agree with him.
Yeah.
At the end of it, like, I think it's God's mistake for doing that. Like, how did he not see that coming?
Well, he did.
Well, no, but how did he not see it coming that it was a stupid idea in the first place to even forbid them? Like, if he wants to make something perfect, why would he forbid them from having that idea?
Yeah, why did he put the tree there in the first place?
Yeah.
That's why it's often seen as a setup. Because God is said to be all-knowing. So he knows he sees time all at once. So he knows the past, present and future and what's going to happen all at once. So it's a big setup, essentially.
Oh, well.
Because then Eden isn't inherently perfect as it is like described to be though. Because like if he like you said he's like omniscient and that, like he knows everything that's gonna happen, will happen and has happened. So I feel like he knows that they were doomed to fail, so then Eden was never inherently perfect. But like, I know we've been talking about it from Eve's perspective and how it's not inherently perfect, but for Adam as well,
Mm-hmm.
the entire thing was like a setup.
Yeah.
It's just continued with the argument that it's a test that God put this here and told you not to eat it to test like whether or not you have the initiative to eat it. I would agree to that. This stuff wouldn't convince me that, to keep you low and ignorant, that would convince me. But in
Yeah.
like, it's a test to see if you're actually good and stuff.
You've also, I think someone in another class likened Eve to like a toddler because she's had no experience. No one's deceived her. No one's lied to her. So why shouldn't she trust Satan, who doesn't look like Satan, who just looks like a snake?
This reminds me of, do you know that magician that does them tests where he's like puts them people in the room? It's like you can't press that button. If you press that button, that house's gonna die.
Yeah.
And it gets in their head, and then they end up pressing the button.
Well, it's the whole series of Lost was like this. If you watch Lost, you've got to keep. Oh, you should. I mean, it's not amazing.
The end really bad.
Yeah, we don't worry about the ending, but actually the build-up, there's loads of like biblical references and stuff. You got your hand up, or are you doing your
Oh, no,
French?
I was just scratching my head.
Okay. God, therefore, cannot hurt you and be just. So, this is the kind of rhetorical device, that scholars would have learned because, you can't. God is just, and a just and good God wouldn't hurt you. So look at that lovely pairing. Not just, not God. Not feared then, nor obeyed. Doesn't matter. Your fear itself of death removes the fear. Why then was this forbid? So he says, God can't punish you and still be God. So you've got nothing to worry about, have you? Because he is God, so he's not going to punish you. So why does he want you not to eat of it? To keep you low and ignorant. Now, context, please, or a link to A Doll's House. And don't just say the patriarchy. It's like how I don't like you just using the Nazis for everything in dystopian literature. Context, they're Nazis. Not when we've got enough examples from 2020 to be going on with. You are forbidden access to this knowledge to keep you low and ignorant.
Or like the women having kept under their husbands.
Yeah.
Like the new woman wasn't really a thing.
Are women, well, in this context, are women entitled to an education? Nope. Even in Doll's House, are all women at that time getting an education? No, or not much of one. Why?
I read a thing saying that in Victorian England it was unattractive and even masculine for the women to be educated, so maybe that's why the paradise is so beautiful, because
Yeah, we don't want women bothering their pretty heads about ideas and learning. You just look nice and do some sewing, okay? Do you know what always frustrates me? And this isn't just about women, but this is about race as well. Can you imagine if, since like when white men have been being educated, everyone else was being educated as well? Can you imagine how far we'd have come as a species? We'd have probably found the cure for cancer by now. We'd have probably solved global warming. But because we constantly deny this kind of access to so many brains, it's just, what a waste. What an absolute waste.
We could say the same thing in 25 years' time about something that we're doing now that we don't see as a wrong at all.
And I do think about this a lot, actually. What will we look back on that we can't... I'll give you a good example of the majority of people. Do you know, that's a big statement. The way society, and certainly like the governments, like view smoking. So cigarette companies aren't allowed to advertise, are they? Cigarette packets have got really gross images on them, stuff like that. Alcohol's just as bad. Fast food's just as bad. They're all poisons and toxins that you're putting in your body. But we don't have that same... I know that we've done things like in Scotland, they've raised the price of alcohol per unit, etc. But we're not quite on board, are we? There's... what was the name of the programme where people... It was a really good series. People from the future had come back. And in the future, literally everyone's a vegetarian. And it's that whole kind of our attitude to certain things, you're right, will radically change. And there'll be some people who saw it come in and predicted it and then are going like, yeah. And others who are still clinging to the past. I digress, but it is interesting, yeah.
No, it's like vaping, isn't it? Because obviously everyone used to smoke indoors and thought it was alright, and then like at the moment everyone's like, oh, well, vaping's fine, but it's always like, that's what the thought process was before.
Yeah.
Do you think we're making like big stuff and like studied it enough?
No.
Know anything about it?
No, there's still not enough. It just hasn't been around long enough. And that's what you need, a long-term studies for things, aren't they?
Cigarettes get studied for ages, and also didn't like a lot of the tobacco companies know that they were negative for a long time whilst they were still pushing it. Like,
Yeah. But, you know, money. Anyway, I better be careful because it almost sounds like I'm saying something anti-capitalist. Sorry, Tim. So, to keep you low and ignorant, he knows that in the day that you eat, your eyes that seem so clear, yet are dim, shall perfectly be then opened and cleared. And ye shall be as gods, knowing both good and evil as they know. Ellie?
Very sorry, I forgot to say it before, but it was about like the entire low and ignorant thing.
Yep.
And how you talk about education. I found it like linking back to like Nora and Christine about how like when Nora's talking about what she's been doing, she's been like, well, I've been sewing and I've been doing this, and Christine almost like laughed at her a bit, where it's like Christine's like she's had her eyes opened and Nora's
Right.
still like pre-lapse.
Yeah. Lapsarian.
Yes, that's the
Pre-lapsarian.
but except not like the doomed of humanity.
Mm.
Also in a way because Christine's like begging for a job. So like,
Yeah, so she's still, although she's had experience, which is the main thing, and has gained knowledge and understanding, she's still limited by her environment and the access that women have to the workforce.
Yeah, it's like age before and after eating the food. Like it's like
Good.
Ignorance and
Good. I meant to say at the start, and I forgot, that as we're looking at this and as we're thinking about the techniques that Satan uses, what we might want to think about is what Nora, the difference between how Nora speaks at the beginning of the play, like, oh, I haven't been eating macaroons, to the end of the play, when she's had her moment, she's had her eyes opened, and she articulates very coherently her reasons for leaving the family home. So that's kind of a way of looking at it as well. Okay, who wants to have a go at this without me giving any hints? How does he move his argument on here? You dropped something, Anna. I just saw Anna slide under the table. Oh God, she's had enough. She's going to sleep. I'm also really envious of your free and easy leg and back movement there, because if I tried to do that, I wouldn't be able to get back up. Robin had to put my socks on for me this morning. That's it. You're laughing, I couldn't move. Daisy, how mean are you?
Were you on the floor in an English lesson today? Is that true? So I mean,
No.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, I got halfway to work. I was walking with Emily and she was like, you need to go home. You can't walk. And I was white. I was in so much pain. But I knew the painkillers would kick in. But when I got in, I just needed to stretch it out and take the pressure off it. And it was my second year's. Poppy didn't bat an eyelid. She was like, oh, Julie's on the floor. I was like, just let me do this and then I'll be able to teach. So.
No, I thought it was like a metaphor thing.
No, I was just in agony, absolute agony. I was like
We're
nearly.
getting a more intricate Satan dance than us.
Sam got it for you.
You're showing what, like,
What?
an
So
answer.
you got the whole
No one knew what
slam dance.
I was metaphorically being
A log in Eden.
a log in Eden. Yeah, I was. Right, come on, what's he saying here?
That she can be like a god.
Yeah. What does he say at the beginning? Like, how does he build up to that? She can be like a god because he's become like a man. So so if I eat it and internally I've become like a man, and you're already man, when you eat it, you become like a god.
He's already said that she's like queen of the universe. So this is sort of like she should be like a god as well.
Yeah, lovely. So he's already planted that idea of queen of the universe. Again, we might want to think about the nomenclature there, how the different ways, the different names that Eve is given, and also think about the different names that Nora is given by Torvald. You know, she's his skylark. What does he end up calling her? There are many things when he finds out about the letter. Can you remember any?
Wretched woman.
Wretched woman, hypocrite, liar, and one beginning with a C. He likes her as a child. Criminal. Calls her a criminal.
Really, what did you say about fancy words for the different names?
Nomenclature. Nomenclature. Definitely ready for some more painkillers. Alex.
I thought he was saying that he's again like criticizing like the goodness of God. Like, what kind of God doesn't let other people become gods?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he's really criticizing like the inherent goodness and the inherent like seemed goodness
Yeah.
of God.
Because what's Satan not anymore? He's not an angel anymore, is he? He's a fallen angel. So there's a bitterness, isn't there, as well? This is a bit. I'm just going to tell you what this one means because it's a little bit hard to figure out. But he basically questions he plants a seed of doubt as to whether it was God that even put the tree there in the first place. I question it. For this fair earth I see, warmed by the sun, producing every kind, them nothing. He says, I don't see anything on this earth that the gods produced. Earth itself has done it all. Which again, God started it off. And if they did make this tree, why would it be such an offence that man wants to find out anyway? But we don't need to kind of worry ourselves about that bit too much. Remember, I'm more concerned in the bits that are gonna talk directly to a doll's house. But it does put me in mind of the swift change that Torvald goes through from criminal to, oh, don't worry, Krogstad said he's not going to tell anybody. Hello, wife. Everything's all right now, says Julie, directly quoting from Ibsen. Ellie.
About the earth producing the tree and everything, and obviously God put it there. Could you compare that to like a house, and like all the both kinds of it's like autarky where they maintain each other, but again, like Torvald like made the house and like is the one who's sustaining it, like God in a way, and but yeah, internally they both don't know how to describe and get what like they both one is in like you know what I mean? Like,
I'm halfway with you, Ellie. I'm halfway there.
Like they're both. It's like it's stressing me out to recording. Like they're both self-contained like worlds in a way. Obviously, Eden like the actual Earth, whereas like the apartment is painted as its own like world and like ecosystem. Like it's got its own like autarky with like Krogstad and Christine both playing into like Torvald's job and everything.
Yeah.
And Torvald runs it and acts almost as the god. And, what's my kind of thought?
So you're saying like Torvald, like the apartment is Torvald's, he owns it.
Yeah,
He's
like
in
Torvald,
charge, but
yeah.
it would still be there without him.
Yeah, like it's
It all exists without him. They aren't relevant.
So it's like an illusion of power.
And like and then
I think what I'd like you to do is maybe try and write that up so that it'll make a bit more sense in your head as well. But it's a nice idea, Ellie.
If it makes sense.
Yeah.
The first bit where it's like the gods are here first and they use that advantage to like squash everyone else down.
Yeah.
That feels like it's linking to his sort of like he was anti-monkey, anti-king. That feels like it's linking to that sort of like criticism of class and stuff, which would make him self-Satan. It feels like a criticism of like entrenched like class and entrenched like the people who got on top and use that to lord over everyone else. But it's weird that
That's a really lovely observation, Alex. That's excellent. What Milton is anti is abuse of power. Power that comes just by the sake of power. You know, like you're born into the monarchy, but then you know that still doesn't mean you have to be a bad ruler. But it's that abuse of power. It's just so at times, yes, Satan does kind of speak for Milton. It's just Satan always takes it too far. And I guess that's the kind of the cut-off point. Okay, we're nearly there. Until finally he says, and even if you do get this knowledge, how's that going to hurt God if all is his? You know, if he's all knowing, if he's got all of the wisdom, then you having a bit of that isn't going to do him any harm. Or is it envy? And can envy dwell in heavenly breasts? Well, it can't, can it? Because they are good and just and virtuous. These and many more causes import your need of this fair fruit. Goddess humane, Queen of the universe, now goddess humane, reach then and freely taste. And she does. He ended, and his words replete with guile, into her heart too easy entrance won. Fixed on now a couple of things conspire against Eve. So first of all, his words have gone in. They've hit their mark. Right. Secondly, she sees the fruit and which to behold might tempt alone. Looks so amazing that actually maybe he didn't even need to say all that. Maybe she just needed to look at it. And finally, it was lunchtime and she was starving. Meanwhile, the hour of noon drew on and waked an eager appetite. It's like when they say that you should never go shopping on an empty stomach. I say that's the best time. Then you buy lots of good stuff. So poor woman, everything conspired against her. Because Satan's been giving it this for ages. She should have been home with Adam by now. He's had the kettle on. The microwave's been digging like you... No, she's not there. So, what's she going to do? She's going to eat the apple. Right, this is where I find out that none of that recording